Hey guys, it's your girl Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another embarrassingly late video. I have been promising this one for a bit and I have finally gotten around to the reverse stamping tutorial some of you guys have been asking for. So I have some goodies here from Maniology. I'm going to take you through the process step by step and I'm going to show you some of my favorite tools that I like to use that make this process a whole lot easier. So if you want to see a quick and easy way to get some beautiful nail art on your fingernails, then stick around, we're getting into it. Okay guys, so before we get started, I just want to let you know that I am an ambassador for Maniology and I do have a code for you if you would like to get 10% off your purchase, and that is code CARRIEG10. Now, fair warning, this is an affiliate code, which means if you do use that code, I do earn a very small commission that helps support this channel, so no pressure, but I do appreciate it if you use it. Now that said, all of these products were purchased by myself, so none of these were gifted. So I have these products because I know and love them, and I will get into exactly what I have here. So if it looks like a lot, I'm sure it does. You're not really actually going to need all of this. There are only a few items that I would actually say you really need to successfully reverse stamp, but I've got a pile of different colors here because I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to use to begin with. So another thing I would recommend is if you have never tried stamping and just kind of want to try it out without spending a lot of money up front, I would highly suggest taking advantage of Maniology's free starter kit. It's actually a pretty cool deal. They will send you a stamper card, a couple of plates, and a couple polishes, and all you have to do is pay for shipping and handling, which I want to say was like $8-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they will send you this kit with all these goodies in it, and that way you can kind of try it out without really losing any kind of investment into materials that you purchased up front. So I think that's a pretty great deal, and it's definitely how I started getting back into stamping. I tried out that free kit again and I really got back into it. So all you need to do is kind of Google Maniology free starter kit, and I can't link it because I've already used it, so it just tells me you've already redeemed this, but I would highly recommend doing that because it is such a good opportunity to get a bunch of goodies to just kind of play with it before you start to really invest money into stamping materials. All right, enough chit chat. Let's get into the specific tools you may want to have if you're going to try reverse stamping. Alright, so like I said, I have been planning this video for a while, so unfortunately the plate I'm using today is kind of not fair because it's not available anymore unless you're a ManiXme member, which is Maniology's monthly box that they send out. It's $25. It's a pretty good deal, and they show you kind of the sneak peeks up front, so if you want to skip it, you can skip it before you get charged. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. This plate is from the January Maniexme box, so like I said, it's very overdue, but I knew when I was going to do reverse stamping, I had to use this plate because I am such a fan of the Art Nouveau style and have been that way for decades, and I just really am inspired by it. And this plate that they sent out in the January box is very much in that Art Nouveau style, so I knew I wanted to use this because that was going to be most inspirational for me. But of course, you can use any stamping plate that has a pretty good like detailed stamp and then has like spaces for you to fill in color. So there's no specific style of plate that you would use for reverse stamping. You obviously just want something that has blank spaces that can be filled in with color. Don't forget to peel off that blue film, that's pretty important. Alright, the next thing you're going to need is a stamper. I highly recommend clear stampers as it makes it really easy to find your placement on the nail. But you can use any stamper, really will work just fine. These are all from Maniology. I really like their large round stampers, but the little square one I have there was in the free kit, and that one's really good too. I'm actually going to use all three of these today because I'm going to be doing a couple of different reverse stamping designs. But like I said, I definitely prefer these. I feel like I get really great pickup with them and I can easily see where I'm putting them on the nail, whereas something that's not clear, you kind of have to guess because you won't be able to see where the design is going on the nail. But yeah, either of these styles will work, or really any stamper that you already have in your collection that you love, but I definitely prefer Maniology stampers. Next, you're going to need your polishes. Now, these are all stamping polishes from Maniology. You can use another brand stamping polish. I just always have great results with Maniology stamping polishes. I promise that's not the ambassador in me talking. That's just my experience. I have a huge collection of Maniology stamping polishes. This is just a tiny little drip of what I have. But if you don't have stamping polishes, you can actually use regular nail polishes. Some regular nail polishes will work just fine. You can't really use gel unless they're specifically gel stamping polishes, but you're either going to want to use regular nail polish or these specific stamping polishes, which are designed to be a little bit quicker drying and have really good pigmentation. So the reason I picked out these particular colors is because I was using this kind of inspo pick right here to kind of get an idea of what colors I would want to use to make it look more in that Art Nouveau style. So I didn't end up using all these, of course, but I used a lot of them, and you can see I have a skin tone color one here because I'm going to be coloring in a face as well. So they have so many great options, guys, so many wonderful polishes, and I feel like they're pretty reasonably priced, especially if you use a discount code. And sometimes too, you can grab them in actual sets, so they'll have a variety of colors in one. So yeah, I really do love their polishes. Now, these next two items are not absolute necessities, but honestly, I would never try to reverse stamp without these two. You can definitely give it a go. I'm just saying this will make the process so much smoother and so much more pleasant. So on the right here, we have the sticky base coat, and this is what I apply before I apply my dried reverse stamp. And this just gives me a perfect transfer every time. Believe me, I have tried to do the same thing with gel base and get the same results, and I just don't, guys. I don't know what it is. It's not that I don't think you can't use gel base, it's just that it's kind of iffy for me. Sometimes I don't get a really good transfer, but with this I always do. And it is not gel, by the way. It is just regular polish that you paint on. You let it dry for like 30 seconds to a minute, and it's nice and sticky so that when you go to apply your reverse stamp, you get a perfect transfer every time. So this is not that expensive, guys. It's definitely worth the investment, and I use it for a lot of stamping applications. I've also seen people use this for other stuff too, like water slide decal applications. So anyway, can't recommend that one enough. And along with that, I also can't recommend this one enough, and this is the smudge free top coat. This is one of those that I really do not feel is good enough to stand on its own, but it is the perfect protection layer between the top coat that you're actually going to finish with. So as you guys know on this channel, I like to use gel. I will still apply this over the top of my stamp, even no matter how long it's been drying, before I put the gel on there, because I just don't want to risk smudging the design, particularly when it's a reverse stamp that I have worked a while on to color in and taking all the time to do the details. The last thing I want to do is get it on my nail and then smudge it when I go to finish it. So I use this for both reverse stamping and regular stamping. Basically, if I'm putting a stamp on my nail, this is going over top. I don't like smudging, and this works for me flawlessly every time. Alright, so I do have currently almond jelly tips on. You obviously don't need tips to apply stamps. You can do these on your natural nails, you can do them on builder gel extensions, you can do them on tips like I do. But obviously you're probably going to put something down first. Of course, you can stamp on a clear nail, but it's a lot more fun when you have a little bit of color on there. So you can really use almost any color you want. I feel like the designs pop a little bit more on lighter colors, but you know, that's really up to you, and it kind of depends on the design and the stamping colors you're going to be using too. So if you're going to put something down, you can put down regular nail polish, you can put down gel polish, you can put down dip powder, which is what I'm going to be doing. But basically you can put whatever you want as your base. It doesn't really matter. Stamping will work over top of all of that. So in keeping with my Art Nouveau color scheme, I'm going to be using Revel Nails Calaca. It's a classic, guys. It's very much a cream color with a light yellow undertone. I just think it's really going to be perfect for this color scheme, but like I said, you can use whatever medium you want to use as your base coat. So I'm not going to be doing the dipping on camera today because this video is going to be lengthy enough without adding that in there. But if you want to check out some of my other dipping videos, that's pretty much the vast majority of the videos on my channel, so feel free to click on any of those. But like I said, you can use whatever you prefer as your base. Alright guys, so I am back. I've got my nails finished up. I believe I did 3 layers of Calaca on this one and then filed and buffed them. And I made them nice and smooth because I knew I was going to be finishing with the matte top coat. And matte top coat definitely highlights any imperfections. So I have a nice smooth canvas here. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work on my reverse stamping. Now technically, could you have done the designs first before you even started dipping? Sure, it doesn't really matter how long they dry. You definitely are going to want your reverse stamping at least semi-dry, which we'll get into here a little bit later, but you could have done that part first if you wanted to, but I knew I was going to be doing these pretty quickly after they started to set, so I went ahead and got my nails all finished up. So as you can see here, I've got a couple of silicone mats here from Maniology's little kit. I'll have all these products listed down in the description box if you want to use them along with my discount code, but you don't have to use those. I just think they're really easy to use to put paint on. And then I've got my lint roller here that I'm going to use to clean off my stamps between designs. And then I also have this optional item here that you can use instead of a lint roller. This is something that Maniology offers. This is their sticky stamper pad. I can't say that. But you can lift up the tab here on the individual papers, and there's like a sticky sheet underneath, so you can actually use that instead of a lint roller if you prefer, but I'm just used to using the lint roller. So the first thing I like to do before I even get started is go over each of my stampers again with the lint roller, just to make sure that there's no excess hair or debris or lint, because I do have a dog and I do laundry and there's lint in my house. So I like to make sure everything's cleared off of there before I even get started, because the last thing you want is a piece of dog hair ruining your design. And then no matter how clean you think your plate is, even if it's brand new, you still want to go ahead and wipe it down with some acetone. So I have this claw tool here that I use from Amazon. I'll have that one linked for you as well, but that just makes it easier so that you're not actually getting your nails into the acetone while you're cleaning off your plate. And of course you're going to need to wipe it down after each stamp. So I'm just going to go through and make sure there's no extra oil on here and debris and all that before I get to stamping. So I'm going to be using this dark brown as the outline for my stamping design. Remember, this is not going to be like a color that I fill in with. This is just my outline. You could definitely use a black or something else that you choose, but I wanted something kind of neutral that would fit in with the other colors I was using, and I felt like black was going to be a little too harsh. And then I also have my scraper card here. No offense to Maniology, but this is the one thing they do that I don't like their stamper cards very much. They're a little bit too thin and flexible for me. I prefer something a little bit sturdier and less bendable. So I will have these scraper cards linked for you down in the description box, but that's the only thing I've found so far that is not my favorite from Maniology. But you know what? Some people love those, so to each their own. Alright, so you can see my plate looks a little smudgy. That's because I skipped ahead because I didn't like the pickup on the first two designs. So it took me a third try to get it to where I was really happy with it. But the important thing to remember with stamping, and if you haven't seen my original stamping video, I will have it linked for you in the cards, but you really want to make sure you have everything ready so that when you put down your polish and you scrape, you can pick it up right away. So you want to have everything right there ready to go. And I just didn't get a really good pickup the first two tries. And sometimes it takes you more than one or two, but it doesn't usually take me that long. Usually I can get it on the first try, but I just took a little bit longer with this one for some reason. But then go ahead and pick it up and then just kind of go around the edges and take off any excess polish that you're not going to want on your design, because you're not going to want that to get on your nails. And be careful. I'm being very dangerous here with that lint roller. And then I'm just going to set that aside and pick up my other two designs in the exact same way. Just put down the polish, scrape it off. I typically pick up rolling in the opposite direction. Honestly, I can't remember who gave that tip first, but I have found that to be life-changing. The pickup is usually pretty good, you know, if you do it anyway, or you can even lay it flat on there, but I don't know why, but rolling in the opposite direction of the way you scrape, for some reason, it just picks up perfectly. So I've been doing it that way a lot lately. Alright, so we got our three designs picked up here, so I'm just going to clean this last one up. So I've got these all sitting off to the side, and you don't really need to wait because those will actually set pretty quickly, and even if they're not fully set, you can go ahead and go in with your colors. So I'm just going to put these back on my mat and start pulling out my colors. Now all I'm going to do here is put the first color that I'm going to use out on the mat. I'm only going to work with one color at a time. And the really important thing to remember here is that once you are applying your color onto your stamp, you want to make sure that you have wet paint every time. You do not want it to be semi-dry at all, because once you touch your tool to the stamp, if it's dry in any way, it will probably pick up some of that outline. So you don't want that. So it's better to kind of gloop it up on your tool there a little bit and then place it on there gently, instead of actually like pressing too hard or using dry paint to kind of get it to transfer on there. because then, like I said, it will pick up some of the outline and it'll be frustrating because you'll have to start all over again. Unless you're not that picky, maybe pick up some of the outline, but picky people like me, that's going to drive you nuts. So now with this, you can either use dotting tools or you can use small brushes. People fall into either camp. Some people, they love brushes, some people, they love dotting tools. The reason I prefer dotting tools is because I feel like I have more control over it than like a brush, say, would kind of have the bristles kind of just flopping around. I don't know, guys, you know what I mean. It's just easier to have a steady tool for me that is more sturdy to actually paint on with. I feel like I have more control with it, but all you're really doing here is think of it like coloring in a coloring book. You've got your outline, you're just coloring it in, and you can choose to use whatever colors you want. Obviously, I wanted something more skin tone for this woman's face, but you can use any colors you want and just have fun with it. I mean, that to me is like the fun part of reverse stamping, is the coloring it in. You can see now and again, I will kind of flip it over and look at it from the other side so I can kind of see if I'm missing any spots anywhere or if I might need some coverage in certain places that I haven't built it up enough. But notice every time I'm going back in for more wet paint, and on my mat there, if it starts to dry, I pull out some more, just take a little bit out at a time. But don't get in a hurry. The only thing I would say is be careful with flipping it over. Make sure you have good handle on it, because I have flipped it over to look at it sometimes and then dropped it on my surface and then ruined it. So careful with that. And that is really it. How easy was that, right? So all I'm going to do once I finish with the first color is go right into the next color. And I'm just being careful here. The idea is to keep your hands steady, keep your elbows on the work surface, try to keep your hands steady. And then, like I said, that's why I like these dotting tools, because they're small and steady tools that make it easy for me to apply the color into the outlined area. But once again, just remember, keep going back in for wet paint. Never use dry paint, because you will start to pull up some of the stamp. So I'm actually going to back off for a little bit, and I'll speed through most of this just so you can kind of see the paint go on all three of these stamps. And we have 3 different designs here, and then we'll be back here in just a bit.
You said that you needed me like a cargo, you will carry me. I just hope you know my depth, even though it makes no sense. Sometimes I'm broken, too much of emotion. Sometimes I'm the lighting, don't wanna pick a fight with. Everything seems so good, I guess I can't help myself. Would you call me if I'm in the dark? I'm calling up 'cause I'm right under the stars. Would you run it on me, leaving this mark? But baby, I'm the one who's breaking hearts, one who's breaking it.
Okay guys, so I have all of my filling in done. So you can see already by the time I finish the last one, this first one is already kind of semi-set. You can see how the paint has kind of lost its sheen. That's mean it's starting to dry. You can see this flower one is a little bit still wet, but definitely this first one that I did here is pretty dry. So now as far as the drying time goes, it's really going to depend. You definitely want it to be at least semi-dry. And if you're erring on the side of caution, I would say wait till it's fully dry, but I can usually get away with it just being semi-dry like that. You can see where it's still a little bit wet, but not so wet that it's going to cause me problems when I go to apply the stamp. So working one nail at a time, I applied a moderately thin layer of that sticky base coat, and I'm going to let that dry for 45 seconds because that's just what I found to be a good time for me. But again, it could be anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute depending on your body chemistry, the temperature of your house, and so on and so forth. So if you want to do an extra reverse stamp to kind of test it out before you actually do it on your nails, then you can go ahead and do that at the same time you're doing your others. But once that 45 seconds is up, I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I want it to go and gently just kind of set it down right on there. Now I'm not pressing so hard, because if I press really hard, it's going to start to distort the design. So what I'm trying to do is really almost lay it on there, and then you see I will rock the stamper from side to side to make sure that the entire portion of that stamp gets stuck. And this is where you kind of hold your breath, because you're like, please don't let me have spent all that time doing this stamp only for it not to transfer. But that right there is why I use the sticky base coat, because I never worry too much if I'm using that, because it works for me every time. So you can see I just rolled from one side to the other to make sure the whole thing was stuck down, and you can see we got a nice clean transfer. Doesn't get much better than that. Moment of satisfaction. So now talking about finishing steps here, because I want to finish one nail at a time so that I don't risk messing up my stamps as I move on to the next one. Because this stamp has already been setting and is mostly dry, I'm okay to go ahead and go in with a smudge free top coat right away. Now if I wasn't reverse stamping and I just did a single stamp and it was like wet, like I picked it up and put it right down on my nail, I would wait several minutes to make sure that the stamping polish was set enough before going in with this. But because this had already been sitting on the stamper for quite some time drying, I already knew it was going to be dry enough to go ahead and go in with the top coat. So while that is setting up, I'm ready to go ahead and move on to my second stamp. And once again, you can see that the paint is a little bit wet, but it's mostly dry. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on this nail. I'm going to put a moderately thin layer of this sticky base coat on here. You want it to be thick enough that it's fully covered, but you don't want it kind of glooped on there either. So a nice reasonable thin layer, then make sure you get all sides covered where you're going to be stamping is good to go. So while I'm applying this one, let me just remind you, you can definitely let them dry as long as you want. It's not going to hurt anything. If you think of it this way, it's kind of like you're making a decal. So of course, if it's fully dry, as long as you have something sticky for it to actually transfer onto, it should be just fine. And some people will actually use a top coat over top of their reverse stamps and turn that into an actual decal that they can pick up off the stamper with like some tweezers. I don't really prefer it that way, but some people do. It's definitely something worth experimenting with if you're interested in that. So one more thing to note as I go in here with this smudge-free top coat is that even though I know this is a really good non-smudging top coat, I'm still being very delicate here. You can see I'm not scraping the brush through the design. I'm really kind of floating the top coat over top of it, because no matter how good of a top coat you have, whether you're using this one or another one, if you keep going over that stamp with your brush over and over and over, you're going to either start picking up some of it or smudging some of it. So just be careful. It's a little delicate. So that was our last one. I could have done a design the last nail. I just kind of felt like 3 was enough. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this last nail up, and then we'll get into some finishing touches. Alright, so I pulled out some of these little foils that I wanted to use to kind of place around the edge of these designs, just to kind of give them a little something to make them look a little antique. Just thought it was a cool idea, but you definitely don't have to do this. So while I'm applying these, I want to go over your options for top coat. So like I said, I do not feel like the smudge-free top coat is substantial enough to be like your finishing top coat. I feel like it's one of those like pre-top coats, if you want to think of it that way. It's really more designed to protect your stamp than it is to be a super shiny, pretty sturdy top coat over top. So you're going to want to finish your reverse stamp with something else. So again, you guys know I like my gel. I'm using gel top coat. So once that is completely dry, that smudge-free top coat, I just go over the top with the gel base and gel top, and that's how I finish my nails. But you don't have to use gels. But by the way, I'm actually putting the little foil pieces on my gel base once I cure it. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, you can use like nail polish top coat, you can use gel top coat, you could use, you know, pretty much anything. The only thing that I would caution you with is activator, like with dip top coat. If you want to finish with dip top coat, I would highly suggest that you actually dip in clear before you activate, because activator can often cause a stamp to smudge or smear or just become a complete mess. Sometimes it will eat into it. I wouldn't just go over top of that top coat with activator and dip top coat. I would go ahead and put another layer of dip base, dip it in clear, wait until that's dry, scrub it off, activate it, and then use your dip top coat. It's just, you really kind of need that clear layer to protect it. Alright, so I'm finishing up here with my gel matte top coat. I decided to go with matte just because sometimes with stamping designs, the shiny top coat will kind of be a little bit glaring or distracting from the design. Sometimes I use a shiny top coat, sometimes I use matte, it just depends. But this time I decided to go with matte because I felt like I really wanted these reverse stamps to pop. Alright guys, so here are my Art Nouveau inspired reverse stamp nails all finished up, and I just love how they turned out. Not sure about the nail shape still, not gonna lie, but I love the actual artwork. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up here with my Scales of a Mermaid Cuticle Balm here in Hocus Pocus. This is a really interesting scent. It's definitely heavier on the green apple, but it's more earthy too. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a really nice, if you like kind of earthy, like not super fruity, but like lightly fruited scents, I think you would really enjoy this one. It's my first time using it and I love it. But again, I don't need to tell you guys how much I love their balms. But remember, you can use code CARRY10 to get 10% off all your Scales purchases. So let me know in the comments down below, have you guys tried reverse stamping? Because I feel like it's such a great way to make really intricate, beautiful designs without worrying about if you have the skill set for it, because you definitely do. All you're doing is picking up a stamp and coloring it in. So let me know if you guys would try that, and if you haven't, let me know if you plan to, because I definitely think it's something I need to get back into doing more. I kind of got sidetracked. I've been cheating on stamping with gel nail paints, but I really love stamp designs, and I have so many stamps that I really want to get back to playing with because I think they're so much fun. So as always guys, if you have any questions or something I didn't cover or explain fully enough, make sure to let me know in those comments as well, because I'd be happy to help out however I can. I definitely want to help you have success with this because I think it is such an easy way to make beautiful, intricate designs on your nails. And don't forget, if you're going to be making any purchases at Maniology, use that code CARRY10 to get 10% off your purchase. So that's going to complete this video guys. So I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, it would help me out so much if you would give me a thumbs up down below. And while you're there, if you have not subscribed already, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. And don't forget that notification bell. We got new content coming every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. Central. So thank you so much for taking time in your day to spend it with me. I appreciate it so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Would you